Hi, I'm Tiffany, founder of Evolutionary Consulting, and in partnership with Rogue Workforce Partnership, I'm here today to talk about compassion. Let's start with just a bit of contemplation. I want you to think for a moment about being with a dear friend, someone you care about greatly, and you discover that they're having a hard time, that they are feeling inadequate, perhaps they're stressed, maybe they're comparing their life now to pre-pandemic, comparing what they were capable of pre-pandemic to now. And you're sitting with them. And I want you to think about how you respond. Here's this friend that you care about who is hurting. What are your thoughts about that? What's your initial feeling? How do you want to experience that person and be in relationship with them? What do you say? What words of wisdom and kindness do you offer? Now I want you to consider a second scenario, that you are actually the person hurting, that you are the one that is feeling inadequacy, comparison, judgment, anxiety, some adversity in your life, that you're the one. How do you feel about you? How do you respond to you? How do you experience yourself in these moments? What words do you offer yourself? How are you with you during times of inadequacy or pain or judgment? And if you're like most of us, we find that it is much easier to give compassion to others than to ourselves. And that in fact, we tend to do the opposite, that when we are in pain or we feel inadequate, not only do we not respond with compassion, but we tend to respond with the voice of criticism. What's wrong with me? I'm the only one that's ever felt like this. I'm the only one that does this type of thing. What's wrong with me? Kristen Neff, a pioneer in the field of self-compassion, has done a lot of research, really beginning in the early 2000s. And from that research, we can look at self-compassion and the benefits that it offers us as a practice. What we find is it can help reduce anxiety, depression. It helps create healthier habits. It even has lent itself to creating greater wisdom in people. One benefit that I find fascinating is its connection with emotional resiliency. When we practice self-compassion, we have a greater ability to rebound from adversity, to come back from that and respond. Compassion is the ability to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would give to a dear friend in the midst of suffering. Self-compassion is made up of three components. We begin with mindfulness, we move to common humanity, and then finally, we lend ourselves self-kindness. So let's talk about these individually. We begin with mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to drop into this moment right now, to be the observer of what's happening in my head, in my heart, and in my body. So a strong emotion comes through, like comparison, like failure, like pain, like frustration. And I have the ability to observe that state and decide what it is that I want to do with that. So I'm in choice while experiencing these things rather than on autopilot. Common humanity is my favorite of the three components to self-compassion. It serves as this beautiful reminder that the pain that I'm feeling, the frustration that I'm feeling, the failure that I'm feeling, I'm not alone in that. I'm not the only one on the planet that is experiencing this. Instead, I can say, this is common humanity. This is what it means to be alive. Collectively, we are all feeling some state of difficult emotions around this pandemic. Some of us, it's very big, and for some of us, it's not. It's just a blip on our radar, but it is a common and collective experience. And the irony to that is that when I feel those feelings, my default mode is to isolate, is to think I'm the only one that feels this. And so that intentional step of common humanity is where I come into practice and say, this connects me. This does not make me unique. It does not isolate me. it connects. And then finally, we move into self-kindness, which is where our practice will lie today. Self-kindness simply means we offer ourselves the same love and compassion and kind words that we would lend to that dear friend that we talked about in the beginning. So we would say things to support ourselves rather than to diminish ourselves. So the practice we're doing today is to cultivate self-compassion through self-kindness. And self-kindness tends to be the component that most of us struggle with. Many report that when we speak kind to ourselves, it doesn't feel authentic. And so it's really a beautiful place to put our energy and a practice to cultivate. So what we'll do is we will place our hand on our heart and we'll give just a gentle push, a gentle pressure. This action alone begins to activate some really great neurotransmitters for us. We are hardwired to connect. And when we feel connected, we often hug and we embrace. And if you think about you have a small child or a small animal or a friend that you love, we hug it and we hold it in. And that action begins activating oxytocin within us, which is this neurotransmitter that helps us feel connected and safe and loved. So in these times where we are not necessarily touching and embracing often, we're going to offer that to ourselves. So you simply take your hand, press it onto your chest, just a slight touch. And then you begin to offer yourself words of kindness. And that might be a phrase that you're repeating several times over. It might be several phrases. And feel free to borrow one of these phrases. I am doing the best I can today. It's okay to feel these emotions. I am safe. I am letting go of what I can't control. Making mistakes is part of learning and growing. May I be at peace and ease. This is temporary. Whatever words you choose, allow them to be ones of kindness, of generosity, of love. Thanks for joining me today. I hope that you take a moment and offer yourself the kindness you deserve. Be well.